Hi everyone, I'm Danny Stein and we're here today with Taunia Kipp from Mountain Media, who is a level 1 PCI compliant service provider. Now if you don't know what PCI compliance is, don't worry, neither do I yet. That's why Taunia is here. She's going to be clearing up a little bit about PCI compliance for us. So Taunia, obviously a lot of confusion surrounding what PCI compliance is. Can you explain it for us?
Well, PCI stands for the payment card industry, and so when we talk about PCI compliance, we're talking about the payment card industry's data security standards, also known as the PCI DSS. And I'll apologize in advance, there are a lot of acronyms in this space, so I'll try to explain them as best I can. The PCI DSS, or the data security standards, are a set of requirements that were designed in order to ensure that organizations or merchants who handle credit card data maintain a secure environment. And of course, that's to protect consumers from credit card fraud, hacks, and breaches.
So we know who it benefits, the consumers. Now, to whom does PCI compliance apply?
Okay, well, PCI compliance applies to any merchant or organization who accept, transmit, or store credit card data. So it doesn't matter the volume of transactions that they perform on a regular basis, nor which method they utilize for accepting a credit card, whether it's in a physical store location or online, for example, or telephone. PCI applies to all.
Now, Mountain Media is an e-commerce provider for online merchants. So now if I'm an online merchant and I have my SSL certificate for my website, does that necessarily mean that I am PCI compliant?
It does not, and there's a lot of confusion there. Well, an online merchant, of course, wants to have an SSL certificate for their website, which is a secure socket layer. That is not going to prevent your web servers from malicious attacks. And there are a whole lot of other requirements that go into becoming PCI compliant versus just having a SSL on your website.
So I am this online merchant. I have a third-party service provider like Mountain Media who is PCI compliant. Why then do I have to be PCI compliant?
Well, merely using a third-party provider or a third-party company of any type that is compliant does not exclude the merchant from being PCI compliant as well. Mountain Media, working with a company like us who is a level 1 service provider, is obviously going to reduce your risk and exposure and also ultimately make it much easier to validate your compliance as a merchant working with a company like ours. There are requirements that you as the merchant have to abide by as well to become and to be PCI compliant.
So there are actually different standards with PCI compliance. Who enforces these standards?
Okay, well, the payment card industry data security standards are maintained and administered by the Payment Card Industry's Security Standards Council, or the PCI, Security Standards, SSC, there's another acronym for you. The Security Standards Council was created by the 5 major credit card brands, which are Visa, MasterCard, American Express, JCB, and Discover. That independent organization has a website where you can get a lot of this information, and they kind of can help you through the process, and that is the PCIsecuritystandards.org.
Now there are different levels of PCI compliance along with those standards. Explain a little bit about those levels and who they apply to.
Okay, well, all merchants are going to fall into one of 4 different levels, and they have to do with the aggregate number of Visa transactions that you transmit or accept annually. A level 1 merchant, for example, is a merchant who is processing more than 6 million Visa transactions annually. Obviously, those are some very large organizations. And it's in level 1, that's regardless of the acceptance channel. So in other words, that can be online, on their website, a face-to-face credit card transaction, such as a brick and mortar store, over the phone, by mail, etc. Level 2, similarly to level 1, applies to no matter what the acceptance channel, and that is for 1 million to 6 million credit card transactions annually. And then we get into level 3 and level 4 merchants, which are primarily the size of merchant that a company like Mountain Media would deal with, and has to do with e-commerce. A level 3 merchant processes between 20,000 and 1 million Visa transactions annually, and those can be of the e-commerce nature. And a level 4, which is probably the most popular in the US, this is a small to mid-sized merchant, processes fewer than 20,000 credit card transactions annually. When it comes to those levels 1 through 4, it's important to mention that the validation of compliance process is different. So a level 1 and a level 2 merchant are required to have an on-site audit, and there needs to be submission of a report of compliance, which is also known as a ROC, an ROC. So they have to submit a ROC and actually have an independent auditor come out and audit their site. Similarly to what a company like Mountain Media has to have as a service level provider who's trying to become compliant. And then level 3 and level 4 merchants are able to complete what's called an SAQ, or a self-assessment questionnaire. And a self-assessment questionnaire means that you are performing your compliance in-house, and that you are also attesting to the fact that you are within compliance in-house. And so that's called the SAQ, or self-assessment questionnaire, and hopefully we can talk about that a little bit more in depth in the future.
Okay, so Taunia Kipp of Mountain Media here today explaining a little bit more about PCI compliance. Taunia, it sounds like there's still a lot left to explain about the different levels of compliance, so we'd be happy to have you back for another video segment very soon.
Great, I'd love to.
All right, thanks everyone.